Hello everyone and welcome back to the ZMAM Show. We're here to talk about The Walking Dead episode 14. Hey, real quick, happy Easter everybody. I hope you guys had a great weekend. We did some awesome stuff with my family and kids and stuff. Hope you guys had a good one too, family or non-family oriented. But here we go, we're here to talk about The Walking Dead episode 14. Still Gotta Mean Something. And boy oh boy does that title totally stick to what this episode's about. There's a lot of cool drama-filled elements in this episode. We're going to get into some spoilers here and talk about the events that happen. So here we go. We start off this crazy episode with Jadis and the events that transpired when Simon and his crew had murdered all the junkyard people at the heaps. It seems she had played dead. She managed to make her way out of, the gunfire, maneuvered a body around, and put herself in the position and looked like she was all bloodied up. Actually, a pretty smart move, actually. And one of the saviors passes over her and believes she's dead, so that's how she was able to get away. We find her next flash forward in her small retreat container that kind of looks like a little studio apartment, except just extremely small, with Lucille. Still obviously grief-stricken at the loss of her people, she has Negan tied up to some weird dolly rig, kind of laying downwise. And so Negan tries to basically talk his way out of this dangerous situation he finds himself in. She obviously is ready to pretty much put his life to an end. Negan realizes that he made a huge mistake putting trust into Simon and actually apologizes to Jadis for her losing all her people and her life pretty much. Believe it or not, I actually think he truly feels sorry for what's gone down. He really does feel that people's a resource. I mean, I gotta be honest, for the longest time I thought he was just buying into his own bullshit, but he actually shows remorse in this scene, which is honestly truly amazing. An angered Jadis almost bashes his head in with Lucille, and then, of course, commercial break, haha. But we get back to it. She brings out one of her zombie monster contraptions, who's also tied to some dolly rig. Who thinks up these things, I'm telling you. And Negan manages to kind of talk her out of it, and I quote, "Let the healing begin." I mean, this man truly is a salesman through and through. So we finally find out that Negan's wife was Lucille. I'm sure a lot of people probably saw this coming, those who've seen the comics, but for those like myself who haven't seen it, it was awesome just to hear him say it and to see that fear of losing that bat. So basically he named the bat after his wife because his wife basically helped get him through life and get him through things in general. And when he lost her, the only way to keep a part of her was giving that bat the Lucille name. And so, I mean, he has tears in his eyes. She's getting ready to burn this damn thing. Negan has his hands on a flare and threatens to burn the last remaining pictures, which I was a little confused by this scene a little bit. I was kind of taking some notes at the time, but it's like when he had this flare and gun for that matter, a chopper appeared just above them. And when it happened, I mean, Jada starts running around and kind of putting that zombie contraption next to him, and then she kind of runs off to the side, and then the chopper just kind of lingers there for a moment and then starts to turn and go away as she's like yelling out to the chopper to come back, that she's there. Very weird. Something is definitely going on here on the side that we don't fully understand yet. Maybe it's something in the comics, but again, I don't really read into it all. I love to see this just unfold. So for now, we'll have to just see what that mystery chopper is all about a little later on. So, with that flare, Negan threatens to burn the last remaining pictures of, Jadis's friends that all got killed by Simon and his crew. We finally see a semi-broken Negan again, as we're talking about, and he tells her that he will settle the score. And I think we know Negan, he is a man of his word when it comes to that, kicking ass. And he actually had tears in his eyes. It was just amazing. So Jadis actually lets Negan go. Amazing. She could have used him for any kind of bargaining chips for who knows what, but she let him go. He offers to have Jadis follow him and that he's going to start a new path. I'm actually intrigued by this a little bit because, I think he actually means it. Simon, he better watch his ass because Negan is going to be busting skulls when he gets back to the sanctuary. But Jadis, for now, has turned him down. I think Negan mentioned something about how he'll be back around, to see if she's still around later, and maybe they'll settle up then. So from there, we jet over to Hilltop, where Ezekiel is trying to get Carol to join him and go find Henry. I know people make mistakes and whatnot, and I'm pretty sure I would not go looking for that kid. There's something about him that just really annoyed me. But as we get through this, my heart may change on this a little bit. But it looks like Tara, by the way, is not infected, so that's kind of good, I guess. She knows that Dwight pretty much shot her with a clean arrow. It's the only explanation of why she's still alive, and all the others were infected and turned. Which I think was pretty much I think everybody was thinking during the last episode. I know I was. Daryl doesn't fully buy it, and he just doesn't want Dwight to get away with this free pass, as he keeps calling it. I'd say Dwight has done some good to make up for the things he's done. I mean, do you ever really make up for killing loved ones of others? I mean, probably not. But I mean, in this world, it's almost like you have to forgive and forget and move on. I mean, easier said than done. I probably couldn't do it myself, I'll be honest. But in fact, I'm kind of curious if any of you guys are watching or subscribed, or if you have an account, let me know in the comments. Would you be able to let Dwight go and just let him live, or be a part of the colony and not have those thoughts of killing him, knowing that he may have killed your loved one, maybe a brother, a sister, or maybe even a lover? I don't know if I could. I gotta be honest, I don't think I could. Maybe I might create a survey on my Facebook page, see what we can do. But as we move past that, Michonne tries to break the barrier that lies between Rick and her. Obviously, there's been a lot of tension there. Obviously, the barrier being the death of Carl. Rick is in a depression state, and it just seems he's not letting himself, read Carl's letter. All the letters that Carl wrote to all the different people, which I thought was really awesome. It feels like that's something Carl would do. I can definitely understand that pain. I know I've not lost a son or a daughter like that, but I mean, it must be so unbearable to lose a child, especially when you've grown so fond of and proud of. I mean, turning into a young man. So Rick decides to head out for the prisoners that escaped. He speaks to the one curly-haired, I'm forgetting the savior's name. Well, not really savior anymore. He's pretty much decided to join Maggie in their colony. But basically, he asks Rick to not kill any more of them than he has to, basically knowing that some of them would like to probably come back, and just under the pressure of the situation and all the zombies attacking, that they just had to flee, and it probably makes sense. But Rick is just out for blood at this point, and I mean, he says something like, yeah, I could do that, meaning, bring some of them back, but I think we all know Rick is in kill mode. So we quickly sidestep over to Carol and Morgan. So Carol decides to join Morgan. There was a little earlier conversation between Carol and Ezekiel talking about going after Henry. Ezekiel kind of calls Carol out as a coward because she doesn't want to go out after him, and all these feelings she's having. Well, after Carol basically talks to Morgan, she decides to join him because I think she can tell that Morgan is not fully there. There's something definitely disturbing him very badly. So she decides to join him in the search for Henry. Morgan continues to hallucinate. While they're out into the wild, he sees what could be Henry walking out in the distance. And as he finally catches up to the person, or what it seems to be a person, it's a Henry projection. And as he turns to Morgan, he has a bite on his neck, telling Morgan, again, that he should have been there and that he knows what it is, kind of the same thing that the last Savior was doing in the previous episode. So Carol sees that Morgan is on the edge, and basically, she's just hanging around to keep an eye on Morgan to make sure he doesn't do something stupid. So they're basically onto Henry's tracks, but of course it's not looking good for the little guy. So as they continue to move on, Carol and Morgan find a spear in the gullet of a walker. They narrow the search. Meanwhile, Carol is trying, I think, almost to save Morgan's soul. I mean, it's on the raggedy edge. Just Morgan is so torn, just so torn. He tells Carol that he's just not strong like her. I think he is, but tragedy just ruins us all, and he's just had so much tragedy in his life. It's just all the pieces are just falling all apart, and there's no way to put him back. It's just too hard to stay strong. So Morgan heads off on his own, saying he has to go kill them, meaning the Saviors. So he heads off. Carol tries to call him back, doesn't work. There we ended off there. Morgan manages to find Rick out in the forest, who's also searching for the Saviors. Talk about coincidence, but hey, I love the duo. I call them the old dynamic duo back in action. So the two decide to work together to try and go find the Savior prisoners that escaped. And just when you think they're about to get some work done, they get ambushed and knocked out, or at least Rick gets knocked out by one of the remaining Savior prisoners. So basically they get back to this kind of bar, warehouse, I don't even know what, but warehouse type thing. And they're trying to figure out their next, the Saviors are trying to figure out the next move. So some of them want to, turn Rick into Simon. Rick starts putting on the reallys, basically offering him a fresh start and maybe possibly becoming a member of the Hilltop community. Morgan also lays on a set of just insanity lines, just kind of really pissing off Jared, that Savior that killed Henry's older brother. And so as the lines finish up, all of a sudden, basically, they kept warning them about a herd that was nearing the warehouse, and of course, it comes swarming in full force. Rick and Morgan are set free at the last second by one of the saviors, as Rick keeps promising that they'll help them kill them and work together to take out a good portion of them. And then all of a sudden, as they're starting to get a handle on the zombies, boom, Rick and Morgan start killing off the remaining savior prisoners, even after they promised them sanctuary. I mean, talk about cold-blooded. I mean, holy crap. I mean, even one of the saviors saved Rick's life, and still the betrayal. Rick just murdered him. I mean, I'm a little stuck on this one. I've usually always sided with Rick and his decisions. I just feel I have a lot of commonalities with the man and his decisions and what he does. But even I feel betrayed after this one, so damn you, Rick. Damn you. But either way. So Morgan has a quick fight with the savior Jared, and Morgan manages to hold him on the other side. There's a fence between them, and Morgan grasps onto him as basically the undead start pouring in behind Jared and start biting off his face and everything else, and pretty much probably one of the most absolute worst ways to go in a zombie apocalypse, to be eaten alive. And so that's the end of Jared. See you later. You played a great character. I forget the actor's name, but you did a great job. That guy was a total dick, and we love to hate him. So Rick asks Morgan after the fight and it was all done, why did Morgan save him on the street so long ago? I mean, he didn't know Rick. I mean, he was just a guy on the street. And I mean, Rick just wants to know so bad, and Morgan, he hesitates. And then he puts it on the line. He says, because my son was there. I mean, wow. I mean, this, in my actuality, is showing the true dark nature of men's hearts. I mean, what a great episode to get a closer look at the souls of these characters. I mean, Morgan pretty much is saying, Rick, I pretty much would have murdered you if my son wouldn't have been there, because there just wouldn't have been no need to have you around. And I mean, that's a wow moment for me. I was just kind of like, whoa, that's deep. So, yeah, as we finish off here, we end off the episode with Carol finding Henry, as he's almost made into like a Henry Jr. sandwich. It appears he wasn't bitten. She gets there just in time. I mean, making some reckless moves, jumping into the water and getting super close to the zombies. But hey, she's a badass and she knocks it out of the park. So, I know this little shit, Henry. He's a kid and he knows he messed up big time. But all I can say is this kid better damn well learn his lesson from what happened here, because I just don't know. I mean, I think it's headed for bad things. But hopefully he can find some peace in knowing that his brother's killer is gone. I don't know. It probably won't, because usually the revenge thing never works. But we'll see what happens. Back at the hilltop, Carol and Ezekiel have a little midnight talk. Ezekiel apologizes to Carol and tells her she's not a coward. Obviously, she went out there to find Henry and got him. We all know that Carol's definitely not a coward. Ezekiel doesn't fully understand, obviously, everything that Carol has endured, but she works to explain this, and in time, I think he's going to understand more and more about her as their relationship grows. Rick and Morgan make it back home just afterwards, and Morgan comes up to Henry and he tells him, I killed the man who killed your brother, which was Jared the Savior. Henry apologizes, saying sorry. Morgan tells him he says, don't never be sorry. And, I really wonder, why did Morgan say this? Because I can totally see the tears in his eyes and in his face. And Lenny James, what a great actor. I mean, you can just see it. He is hurting so bad. And I know he does not really believe that. He is just, again, such a torn man through and through. He's been torn so many times, broken, however you want to call it, and there just may be no way to put these pieces back together. I really do feel sorry for Morgan, although at times, you feel maybe a little annoyed watching his character go back and forth. It's that conflict, and he can never be free. He can never be free of it. It's very sad. Negan drives to the sanctuary and picks up some kind of mystery passenger on the road. He's like, haven't seen you, and you look like shit. No, all the Negan talk. Tells him to go ahead and get in, or her for that matter. So Negan gets back to the sanctuary and tells the gate crew not to tell anyone that he's back, that he has a whole lot of surprises in store, I think I quote. And I just say, oh shit, because here we go. Something's going to go down. Rick, basically now cleaned up back in his room at Hilltop, apologizes to Michonne, which is well-deserved, and tells her he loves her, which was awesome. I hope Michonne can help pull him back in. I mean, obviously, it's Rick's story. They're not going to let him go completely AWOL, I'm sure. But because he's on the cusp of just becoming a complete murderer, I mean, he was in there talking. I mean, remember the episode's name, Still Gotta Mean Something. That's what he told the Saviors after he gave his pitch about coming back to the sanctuary. Hey, a man's word, it's still gotta mean something even in this world. Well, yeah, it basically didn't mean shit, Rick. I mean, you pretty much murdered these guys. I mean, in cold blood. So, there it is. I just really hope that isn't in Rick's future. He pulls out Carl's letter, and then he starts reading it to himself in silence. Man, do I really want to know what that letter said. But wow, what a great episode and great character development, I thought, in my personal opinion. I give this episode an 8.7 out of 10. Yeah, I'm going to add that little 0.7 in there. It was a great episode. It had some great scenes, and it's just making me want to see the next episode, like, right now. So really looking forward to seeing how we close up Season 8 with just 2 episodes left. Thanks again for stopping by and joining the conversation. I'll have a few other things out this week, including some test firing footage for some new sci-fi weaponry we just received. And we're using Adobe After Effects, of course, and editing software, as well as a review for Darren Brown's The Push, which actually came out a few years ago, but finally got ported over to the US. It was originally in the UK, and it's basically about this social science experiment, pretty much, where they tried to get an innocent individual person to try and commit murder at this like gala ball or whatever, and it was pretty interesting. Although I feel it could have been possibly staged a bit, it was a real eye-opener to what people might be actually pushed to do. So I hope you get a chance to make it back out. Until then, make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, as we're posting some awesome zombie pictures and some other materials out there. I think you guys will really, really enjoy it. Again, I'm Mike Schilling, your host of ZMAM, and we'll see you next time.